Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, it's October 16, 2013. I have amazing news. This is it's breaking, sort of. It's broken. How's broken? Is broken a better?
$17 trillion in debt. Nothing's been done about it. I'd say broken is
a pretty good.
Appropriate.
Yeah, well, no, there's been something done. We lifted the debt ceiling temporarily through December.
Which is awesome. We got crashed by Rinos.
You get all the credit for that one.
A crash of rhinos. They're not a herd of rhinos. It's a crash of rhinos.
I don't know
and
what
really
you're talking about. I'm just talking about the fact that the Red Sox are in the LCS, and even though they're not winning right now, it's top of the eighth, and they're down 7-2. They are up 2-1 in the series, so I knew Detroit was going to be a hard series.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I was going to do this show tonight.
But if I'm going to have that attitude?
But if you're going to have that attitude, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Oh, inside jokes. I love inside jokes. So much going on this week, and it seems like every week for the last, month?
I'm not talking to you right now.
I don't care. I'm talking.
You're looking at me like you expect me to say something.
I'm sorry. I'm talking to the listeners.
Talk to the listeners because I'm not here right now.
But I was reading a great article this week by our good friend Tami-J over on the Black Sphere. It's called "The 47 Bodies Left in the Wake of Hillary Clinton."
Well, you're just jumping right in today, aren't you? No, hi, how you doing? No, I'm not talking to you. I forgot. I apologize. No, you're right. I forgot. I'm not talking to you right now.
Right. So what does it matter?
I don't know. I just forget I said anything.
If you have a chance.
Where are you going, Sacco? And what is that mouse in your hand? What is that thing? Is that
a barking mouse? It's a barking mouse.
That's cute.
If you have a chance.
Thank you for bringing the snack for my shepherd.
If you have a chance, go over and check it out. It's an amazing article. I don't want to get too much into it, but Tami-J, a good friend of ours, once again nails it. It's really eye-opening. I was blown away by some of the facts and incidents that she brought up that may have or has fallen by the wayside in actuality. So that was kind of cool. So if you get a chance, check it out over at the Black Sphere. How are you, my friend, in all honesty?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm just okay. Well, here's the thing. I was under the First Amendment, I have the right to petition my government for redresses,
Absolutely.
Right? So I went to the White House website, and I was going to email the White House. And up on the website, when I click that link, it says, due to Congress's failure to pass legislation to fund the government, the information on this website may not be up to date. Submissions may not be processed, and we may not be able to respond to your inquiries. So I believe my First Amendment right is being violated.
Well, especially because...
What do you think?
I think so, to a point. That's been up for a while, for 16 days now, where Congress gets blamed instead of, we're going to go into the cuteness of the Obama administration during this whole shutdown, and everyone's talked about it, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's one of those things where I So you had to actually pay somebody to update the website to say that versus just leave it as it is and let it process as normal. But I don't know if it's necessarily been violated.
Why not? If I can't petition them and
right,
nobody
you
is
can,
there,
but there are alternative methods. They didn't shut down the postal service. I believe you could still call.
The switchboard was shut down, correct?
Yeah, but you could still call.
Right.
You just can't get through.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Nobody's reading the mail.
Right.
Got it.
So it's fine.
Okay. Don't forget I said anything.
If
Never
you're
mind.
if you were holding an amnesty rally,
a carrier pigeon,
carrier pigeon would work as well. Naked mole rat with a little note attached to it. I don't know all the ins and outs of it.
Okay. You
Did
just
the government
to say, you know what? That was a bet that he couldn't get naked and ins and outs in one breath on the show, and he was able to do it.
I win for the week.
So, good job.
I don't know if it's necessarily been violated. It was the shutdown was used brilliantly, if you will, politically.
If I will,
by the White House to make the true conservatives look like jackasses to the best of their ability.
To the people that don't pay attention
to the low
what's
information
really
voters,
on.
the people that don't pay attention to what's going on, the people who don't understand the soundbite republic, as I like to call some of them, where it's just, oh, this is on CNN, and if they say it, well, it must be great. So a lot of things were made difficult. One of the things that was made difficult is the National Park Service. One of the things that was able to open and run amazingly was Obamacare. I am still
No, it didn't run amazingly.
No.
It's barely
amazingly,
running at all.
I
think it's
was Obamacare.
I think it's limping. I don't even know if it's limping. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the zombie from Walking Dead that had no legs. And like one arm was messed up. So it was trying to crawl along.
Right.
Like and it could barely move. That is what Obamacare is doing.
You know, Forbes released a thing today, earlier this morning, that said the Obamacare website is crashing because it doesn't want you to know how costly its plans are. And there's a lot of people that are saying that people are starting to dig into these plans, and all of a sudden it's much more expensive than people thought. There was the legend of Mitch, or whatever his name was, a couple of weeks ago, who said that he got all this awesome coverage on Obamacare.
Romney said this?
No, Mitch, not Mitch.
Oh, sorry.
I can't remember the kid's name. But
it sounds like something Romney would say, though. So
every liberal newspaper in the world
was
doing sound bites from the kid and clips and all this other stuff, and then we found out later that he was a liar, and he actually didn't sign up for it.
He was 3.
There was one state, and
he was 3,
right?
And he took like that.
No, he was like 24.
Oh, same thing.
24, 25. He was the typical voter that this whole bill was put towards.
Can you say that? Is that offensive? Can you say typical voter?
Can you say it anymore?
I don't know. Because I think if you say typical and then anything, I think somebody is offended by it, right?
I'm just a typical white guy.
See what I mean? For example, if like the Redskins were playing and you'd say, oh, that's a typical Redskin maneuver, I mean, somebody would be offended by that, right? I'm talking about the Washington Redskins, the football team.
Right. But naturally, somebody would take offense to that, Bob Costas being one of them.
Let's talk about this for a moment.
Okay. I knew we were going to get into this.
So, listen. So, Redskins originally came from certain Native American warriors that would actually put red paint on. It wasn't. It had nothing to do with their skin color.
Right.
Okay. And they were warriors, brave warriors, and that's what the football team is named after. But now there's some group somewhere that decided that they think it has to do with the color of skin pigmentation, and it does not. So,
I wonder if those people also show the.
What do you mean those people? Listen, this is the kind of insensitivity that gets us in trouble as conservatives.
Because you say people who believe that it's an insult allow their children to watch Peter Pan.
I would hope not, because talk about Disney is so hateful. Remember Brer Rabbit?
Yes.
And Uncle Remus?
Yes.
You can't even get that movie in the United States anymore.
What makes the red man red?
No, that's Peter Pan again.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
it's awesome. And Tiger Lily. What kind of name is Tiger Lily? Really? You were so... How, Big Chief? I mean... So, listen, there's some other sporting teams' names that are actually kind of offensive. And I'm talking NFL teams. So I think these other teams should have to change their name also. For example, the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
Why don't we call them the Minnesota Nordics? Because Vikings could be offensive. Actually, they're hang on.
Nordics is a motorcycle group.
Those are I don't know. Listen, but I forget. There's a white guy on their helmets, so let's just call them the Minnesota Crackers, and everybody will be okay with that.
Crackers, AHS,
right? Crackers, because they're from Minnesota. We can call them the Minnesota Caucasians, the Minnesota Caucasian Warriors,
right?
The Minnesota Pillagers.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Okay.
How about just the Minnesota Minnesotians?
I like that one.
I want to see that on the front of their jersey.
I like that one. How's about this? Now, Carolina Panthers.
Right.
That's another one because the Panther it's black.
Some of them, yeah. It can also be tan.
But I'm talking on their helmets, the uniform. It's a Black Panther,
yes.
Which clearly this group is named after an extremist group. It's just insinuated because otherwise the Panther would be like white or purple or something like that. But this is a Black Panther. So the Carolina Black Panthers is clearly an extremist organization that I find offensive given their history of violence. So how's about the Carolina Kitty Cats?
Ooh.
You like that one?
Carolina Kittens.
Carolina Kittens.
I'm down for it.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull out another one. The Saints.
That was my next one. Why are we bringing
religious overtone? They shouldn't be allowed.
They should
not be allowed at all.
No.
It should be the agnostics.
Or how's about the New Orleans nice people?
really big helpers.
Yeah. The New Orleans helpers. The New Orleans volunteers.
Rooster has a good point in the chat room. He says, "Isn't the Panther a step up from a Cougar, a woman in her 50s?"
No. Hang on. We'll get into the Jacksonville Jaguars here in a second. So simmer down there.
The Jaguars, which, as everyone knows, is the ultimate when you go Cougars, Panthers, Jaguars. So.
Right. So, okay, how's about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Right.
Buccaneers.
Insult to pirates everywhere.
Yeah, they were pillagers.
Yep.
We need to call them, their symbol is a skull and crossed swords with a football.
Mm-hmm.
And red, the color of blood. Clearly
Evil.
This is a violent team, and the owners want nothing but violence to be portrayed.
Right.
So I think they should be called the Tampa Bay Sailors.
The Tampa Bay Longshoremen.
the Tampa Bay Schooners.
I have another issue, too. Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't make steel anymore.
And not only that, but because meanings change, as we find out from Redskins, it actually could mean thieves.
Right.
Even though it's spelled differently, we're not going to – listen, logic does not play into this.
Right, so that one doesn't go. Cincinnati Bengals?
Why don't we call them Tigers? I mean, are they Bengal? Why are we being race-specific on the Tigers?
Exactly.
Why is it a Bengal tiger?
Bengals are an endangered species.
Okay.
So now if you're rooting against them, you want the species, you want that
die out.
Yeah. I don't think that's okay.
I don't think
not with me, anyhow.
New York Giants. Why can't we call them New York larger people? New York...
the New York light bulb changers?
People of greater size. New York big and tall.
New York big and tall.
New York big and tall.
I like that one.
Okay. New England Patriots. Now, this one's going to hit close to home for you, but why is there so much hate? Clearly, this is a Tea Party.
New England extremists.
This is a Patriots is bad term.
Right.
So how many times has that team been audited by the IRS?
Oh, thousands.
So second of all, why are they so New England extremists? I like that. New England terrorists.
The New England terrorists. Right? The New England faction.
Okay. The New England evil militia. Nasties.
The New England anarchists.
The New England poo-poo heads.
What about the
New England teabaggers?
The New England teabaggers.
New England Tea Party.
Right.
Because I would actually switch teams if that were the case.
You know what? I'll call Mr. Kraft and see what I can work out for you. The Green Bay Packers.
Now that has now they don't make fudge up there.
No,
and I
think it's cheese.
It's cheese,
Packers?
but Packers can have sign of a negative connotation because of the whole negative term towards alternate lifestyle people and homosexuals. So I think Packers,
That does not a good one.
I mean, it's a descriptive name for that particular team.
But that's still not really. Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed.
So what are the Green Bay Cheez-Its?
The Green Bay Cheezers.
The Green Bay. I like Green Bay Cheezers.
But Green Bay aged thickened dairy products.
No, you can't have aged because
that shows.
So
that also debunks Rooster's Cougar Jaguar statement.
Yeah, you can't.
Because age would be involved, and now there's discrimination there against somebody else.
You can't do that.
Miami Dolphins. I mean, come on, they get caught in tuna fish nets. Hello.
But I think maybe it's being dolphin safe, so why not call them Miami Dolphin Safes?
Dude, that would be
right. The Miami Dolphin Safes.
So ridiculous.
New York Jets. Listen, New York and Jets clearly don't go together since 9/11.
Right. That
people could find that offensive, so we should call it maybe the New York biplanes.
No.
The monoplanes. The
New York Wright brothers.
New York Wright brothers. Okay.
That would be a terrible
the New York
one.
Flyers.
The New York Flyers. Yeah. That
right.
would be good.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys. Well, if you can't say Indians, you can't say Cowboys.
Right, because you can't play Cowboys and Indians
anymore. Right.
Anymore. So the Dallas
gone.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah, let's just
the Dallas football team.
The Dallas football professionals.
How about the Dallas Stars?
What? No, that's already a hockey team.
So, who watches hockey? Nobody watches hockey. I'm waiting for Rooster to pop up in the chat room on that one.
Let's see. Obviously Kansas City Redskins, not going to happen.
No, Kansas City Chiefs. You mean? Because not all Indians, not all Native Americans are chiefs.
Right.
So it's discriminatory.
Plus, that shows a hierarchy amongst people, which is not allowed anymore.
Yeah. So and I mean, Chiefs. Really, why are you singling out all of the little people? That's like a 1%er name.
So I'm going to call them Kansas City Babybacks.
Okay. Well, how about the Kansas City Arrowheads? Just like their stadium, just the Arrowhead.
No, because Arrowhead would now insinuate Native Americans because they used arrows, and that's not going to go.
Were they big in Kansas City? I didn't.
The Midwest.
Okay. So why not just call them the Kansas City Native American guys?
No, I think we should just change it to the Babybackers.
Okay.
Let's see. The Texans, well, obviously that's not acceptable because
you can't be a Texan at all.
Right.
I mean, if you're from Texas, you should just abolish all teams from Texas because you're just violent.
Texas Rangers too, in the baseball team. That's just going to assume that's a.
I'm an AL West fan, so I would go ahead and just get rid of them.
Yeah, that'll help you out quite a bit.
The Oakland Raiders, again, black. The symbol is black, dark, ominous. Raiders connotates a mean, nasty criminal. So why not the Oakland folks who were rehabilitated?
How about
Oakland parolees? That's not a stretch.
No, I've been to Oakland a few times. How about the Oakland Happy Towners? Let's try to change the entire face of.
And instead of listen for them, like their football uniforms could be like breast cancer awareness pink all year long. Just because it's happy. The Oakland Skippers.
Wouldn't that be the 49ers, though? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
49ers, not everyone who lived in San Francisco was a miner.
Right.
So now that's just discriminatory to assume
and not all of them came there in 1849.
No. Some people were there before or afterwards.
1848.
Some people got involved in the gold rush well after 1849. It lasted for a long time. So that's just a misleading statement, and to be honest, it's kind of insulting. St. Louis Rams, they're not going to be around for much longer anyhow, so that doesn't matter.
The Arizona Birdies.
The
Arizona Tweets.
The Denver Ponies.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves ponies. And I think
San Diego Chargers.
Houston Oilers. Stop. Environmentalists, listen to me now.
They don't exist anymore.
What, the environmentalists?
No, the Houston Oilers.
Right.
So why are we even bringing them up? They went away because of the environmentalist movement, I'm sure. One corrected it.
I was going to say they should relocate to South Dakota and reopen up there because they're going to have oil up there. South Dakota, North Dakota area. Oilers? Yeah, just saying.
South Dakota shale.
The shale. And the frackers.
You frackers.
Oh, and last but not least, the San Diego Chargers.
Listen, with our debt the way it is,
why are we going to?
Why are we celebrating
Or is it that people are charging over the border in San Diego into the country? Either way,
yeah. And the lightning bolt, because they're really fast. Combine that with Speedy Gonzalez from Looney Tunes, and I think you were on to probably the most racist football team
in the history of mankind. So that's our NFL coverage for the week, ladies and gentlemen.
How ridiculous! Change your name from the Redskins.
It's sad that even the president had a comment on it.
Why is he commenting on anything?
But why does that even matter? And this goes to show you, that combined with his little comment, I think it was today.
I like how you say little. His little comment. Completely just
2-0 comment.
Minimize it.
He was asked, one of the coolest perks about being president. What is it? What's one of the coolest perks about being president?
Blowjobs in the Oval Office.
For me, we keep the Redskins. We don't change. I'm not a Redskins fan, and the question was asked in the chat room. We were obviously being facetious.
Absolutely.
Don't change anything. Don't bow down to this ridiculous. Listen, it's a storied franchise.
It is.
And like you said, it was named out of respect.
It was named for a fierce
It's a warrior.
Team. It's a warrior, to be warriors, to be fierce and tough. It was actually made to honor that.
Right.
A team is not going to give itself a
I don't care when they were made.
Yeah, they're not going to give themselves
the Cleveland Indians. They're going to be the Cleveland Indians forever. And there's a reason.
That's ridiculous.
Well, as long
the Oakland Athletics. Not everybody's athletic.
This is true. We're not. I am the best example of that. This is just ridiculous. But the president was asked this week, what are the coolest perks about being president? I could go down a list of things. One of the coolest perks for me would have been to be held in such a high regard that I was elected president of one of the greatest nations on the face of the planet, the greatest nation. And that alone is the only perk I need. Yeah, there's some nice conveniences about being president, but nothing, and I mean nothing, is better than that. So, to me, that's the end-all, be-all.
What did he say?
When he calls people, they answer.
Are you kidding me?
No.
But that's his mentality, right? I mean, that actually plays into his
all about him
tyrannical.
It's all about
form
him
of leadership or lack of leadership, but more rule that he thinks.
I would also like to challenge
as a
that
dictator.
theory with
dictator.
him.
Sorry.
Mr. President, our phone number here on the show is 347-205-9399. If you choose to call in and Sacco screens it, we're not going to answer. Look at you.
I want to talk to him.
I know. I want to have a conversation with him, too.
I want to have that debate with him.
Yes. I know. There's so many debates we want to have with him, and believe me. But I just found that to be amazingly self-centered, to say that, the coolest thing is when I call somebody, they answer. One of the things I pointed out immediately on Twitter earlier this week when that came out, or today, is don't you wish that folks that were in Benghazi got that same treatment? When they called somebody actually answered?
Well, somebody might have answered. The answer was just no.
Right. But to me, that's just asinine to say that. It's frustrating. There are many different things you could have brought up. Or turn around and say, you know what, I don't look at it as a perk. I look at it as things to get my job done easier. My job is the coolest perk.
But you know what? And you know who I see acting more and more in that fashion is Harry Reid.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but did you know Reid is Latin, and it comes from the Latin root word jalapeno, meaning penis. So his name is actually Harry Penis. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Do I need to fact check that?
Why are you doubting me? Listen, I'm right most of the time.
Well, because there's been a few things that you've told me that I've gone out and touted as fact.
Right.
And apparently, and I didn't know this, but it's not okay to sing I Am the Bomb on an airplane. Now, it was a long 3 days, and I eventually got to sit down again.
Right.
However, when I asked you about that, you said, oh, no, you're fine. So in this particular circumstance, I want to know if the Latin root for read, because this is something that I know you, and you were sitting at home this week, and you're like, I know I'm going to screw with him next. I'm going to make him call him Harry Penis all week. And then he'll research it and be like, oh, son of a...
Listen, would I do that? Look, you know that I am a linguist of sorts,
a cunning one at that.
And so if I tell you that reed has a Latin root word, is actually Latin from the Latin root word jalapeno, meaning penis, you should take that on its face. Is Obama getting to speak live right now?
No, that's pretty much my response to your statement right now. Is I don't have a really good word or anything to counteract it. So,
well, look, Harry Penis has been acting completely
more and more self-centered. He's making himself more and more self-important in our government.
Well, not only that, but he's acting. Look at the rhetoric that he's come out with over this whole thing.
Right.
I mean, he's come out with terror. I mean, we've pointed this out on the shows over the last couple of weeks, but terrorists, extremists, shutting down the about the whole government, shutdown, quote unquote, and all this other stuff. I mean, his rhetoric has been so divisive and so heated that as a leader of the Senate, I mean, as a leader even in his party, I would think that he would lead and bring people together. You know what? If one of the underlings is using that type of language, and maybe in private he's saying, "Yeah, good job, way to stick it to him," but in public he's saying, "Hey, you know what? We don't need this kind of language. We need to come together right now. We need to work on a solution." That language does nothing but, I mean, that if I was a representative in the Tea Party caucus or in Congress as a Republican or conservative or whatever, and he was using that type of language, I would want to tell him to go screw himself. I would not want to work. That does not foster a working relationship, and I think he should be brought up. I think he should be brought up on charges for hostile work environment.
That'd be great,
because clearly he's in violation of EEO.
I am going to tweet Ted Cruz at the break and bring that up to him. No, I agree with you, and I think even Democrats to a point have to look at him and go, "Hey,
penis."
Harry Penis, what are you doing? Like, this isn't, you're making us look like the jerk. More importantly, you seem to keep putting yourself to the forefront and that we're like your followers versus the representative of the people. I would be mad, even if I was a complete liberal progressive, which I am not, but if I were, I'd be mad that he'd use that rhetoric because as a professional lawmaker and an elected official in this country, I would expect his professionalism. He doesn't have to agree.
Exactly.
That's fine. That's politics. That's the way of the game.
He has to represent his people, even though he should represent his state, but that's another discussion.
Right. His people meaning every single progressive liberal instead of Nevada.
Right.
But his job is to go out there and as the majority leader, even more so, be that leader, that person on the forefront that goes, "Hey, you guys, we don't agree, this and that, but we're going to find a way to overcome this. We're going to speak. You can comment about what you don't like. Hey, I don't appreciate the fact that," or there are members of the GOP party that are making this difficult because of their constituents' beliefs, things like that. Okay, I can accept. I don't like your message, but I can appreciate the way that message would be formed. To go out there and call them faction. What did that idiot in Southern California call us, Tea Partiers, is the whole suicide vest comment thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is at all.
And that was a Republican.
I know. No, I said idiot. Nobody
No, you're
at
right.
all,
I apologize.
Is taking that to task and holding them accountable for those words. And that drives me insane.
Who's going to hold them accountable? The media?
You know what?
Nobody is. Nobody in the mainstream media is going to hold them accountable. You and I will.
You know who should have? Is the president.
Yeah, but he has the same type of rhetoric. Remember when he's waving their little tea bags around? Remember that little condescending little remark that he said? Everything's
condescending out of him. But a real president who even would have came out, and I even think Clinton to a point may have go, hey, I don't want to listen to the name calling. I want you guys to come together and solve the problem. Stop this. Mm-hmm. This isn't healthy for the American people. I don't know if he would have said those exact words, but I think even Clinton got it to that point.
I would agree with that.
I think that he was more of a professional. Whether I agree disagree with his politics, I think he dealt with things more professionally.
Do you think Hillary would deal with things more professional?
No. I really
You're
don't.
endorsing Hillary 2016? That's
No.
what I got out of that whole exchange.
Not at all.
Okay, I was just...
No, I think Hillary would be much worse. She made a comment this week about Benghazi and Biden that kind of threw him under the bus. Mm-hmm. She's already starting. It's only going to get worse. I think she will be the anti-Clinton, the anti-Bill Clinton if she ever gets elected in office, that she's going to just be much more harsh with her rhetoric, and she's going to follow the same tone that Obama started with.
Unless, if she wins, Bill can kind of temper that a little bit, because Bill actually had a fair amount of success in his presidency, and I think he doesn't want. I don't think he would want the Clinton. Yeah, I don't think he'd want the Clinton legacy to go down in that manner. We're up against a break right now. Mm-hmm. When we come back, I want to talk about this deal that was reached today. Talk about Harry Penis. Call him his English translation of the name. Talk about Harry Reid and John McCain as well, and some of the things that he did behind the scenes. By the way, did you know McCain is actually Latin also, and it's Latin from the root word jalapeno, meaning scrotum. So just something to think about.
I thought it was Latin for
another
cock.
Fact.
We'll be back at 3 on the Sackheads Radio Show.